Hello and welcome. My name is Greg Dawes, and today we're going to talk about the ProPricer Database Integration Tool. The ProPricer Database Integration Tool is a combination of three applications that allow you to easily transfer costs and pricing data between a ProPricer database and an SQL or Oracle database. This is very useful when you have a separate system containing rate data or material pricing data and you wish to push that data into ProPricer. You can also export pricing data from ProPricer and evaluate or analyze the data using other database tools. The three applications of the Database Integration Tool include the Database Integration Manager, the Database Integration Importer, and the Database Integration Exporter. The Importer and Exporter applications do not have a user interface. To run these applications, you must enter command line parameters in your command prompt application. However, the Database Integration Manager application does have a user interface, which is used for managing database connections and creating data mappings. A data mapping is a data file that charts out how the cost and pricing data will be transferred and the databases that will be used. Let's check out the Database Integration Manager now. So, when you first open the manager, you'll be asked if you want to create an import data mapping or an export data mapping. Import moves data from your SQL or Oracle database to ProPricer. Export moves your data from ProPricer to your SQL or Oracle database. In this episode, I will show you both import and export data mappings. Let's start by checking out the Database Integration Manager user interface. It has three areas: the ribbon, the navigation pane, and the workspace. The main ribbon allows you to create, load, or save data mappings. The Settings ribbon is where you establish your connections to ProPricer, SQL, and Oracle databases, enter your license key to validate the product, and choose a skin. The Help ribbon contains a link to the Quick Start Guide and product version information. The first thing you'll want to do in the Database Integration Manager is establish your database connection from the Settings ribbon. In this example, we will assume that we are connecting to an SQL database. First, I'll establish my ProPricer database connection, followed by the SQL database connection. Earlier, when I first opened the application, I selected Import. So if I created a new data mapping now, it would pull data from the SQL database and push it into ProPricer. If I wanted to create an export data mapping instead, though, I would click New and then select Export. If I want to make changes to an existing data mapping, I would click Load, then select the mapping from my File Explorer. I'm going to start by loading a previously created import data mapping file. So I'll click Load and then navigate to the location of the import data mapping file. This import file that I've created has all of my data mappings, which will be used by the Database Integration Importer application to look inside my SQL database and pull material-specific and rate information into ProPricer. It is important to note here that when data is imported from an SQL or Oracle database into ProPricer, the existing data in ProPricer will be overwritten. Also, the data that is imported must fall within your ProPricer system's period of performance. Okay, so as you can see, when importing data into ProPricer, you currently have the option of transferring material data, indirect rates, and direct rates. In later versions of the Database Integration Tool companion product, more types of data will be available for importing. There are two methods for creating a mapping of your data. You can pull information directly from SQL by using queries like this select statement, or by selecting Table in the column source menu here, as you can see when I go to the product mappings grid. These columns on the left are being pulled directly from ProPricer and cannot be changed, but the columns on the right are the mapped columns in my SQL database. So after I make my changes to the data mapping and determine which data goes where, I can click the Save or Save As button to save the data mapping file. I'll show you how to finish up the import process in a little bit, but first let's cover export data mappings, which move data out of ProPricer and into an SQL or Oracle database. Again, I have an export data mapping file created that I will use. I'll click the Load button, then navigate to the location of the file. Notice that the file extension is DIEXP, which stands for Database Integration Export. I'll either double-click the file or select it and click Open. As you can see, the navigation pane has the same material data and rate folders that we saw before, but exporting also includes proposal data such as proposal properties and all task-related data. You can create or edit the mappings just like in the import function by either entering SQL queries or accessing the data table directly. After I make my changes and determine the data paths, I will save the data mapping file. Now that the data mappings are finished, I'll show you how to execute both the import and export processes. Both are done by using command line parameters. So I'll access a command prompt and perform an export first. The first section of the command points to the DI export executable, and the second section contains the /c command and points to the full path for the location of my export data mapping file. Also, there is a log file that gets saved during the process. By default, it is saved to the installation directory for the Database Integration Tool, but you can save it somewhere else by editing the command line parameter. These command line parameters can be found in the Quick Start Guide, which is accessed from the Help ribbon. Okay, now I'll go ahead and run the command, and the export is done. Next, for running an import, the process is nearly the same. Again, the first section of the command points to the DI import executable, and the second section contains the /c command and then points to the full path of the import configuration file. After I run the file, the import is finished. Now, one of the really great things about this companion product is that the import or export process can be automated by using a task automation software like Windows Task Scheduler to run a process, like a material import, for example, on a daily basis at 2 a.m. As you can see, the ProPricer Database Integration Tool is very useful when you have a separate database system that contains rate data or material pricing data, and you need to push that data into ProPricer or vice versa. Also, once your data mapping is established, the process can be done automatically every day so the data is all ready to go in the morning. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please share it with your colleagues who use ProPricer. If you have any questions about ProPricer, please email us directly. Again, my name is Greg Dawes, and as always, thanks for watching.